Who or what inspired you to attend an HBCU?
Well, first of all, let me say this. Growing up in a small neighborhood in Zachary, Louisiana, where just about everybody who went to the high school that I graduated from had gone to Grambling, and there was a lot of them was family members. Whatnot, it was the Shanklin, the Dyer, the Huggins, the Bennetts. All of them had went to Grambling for some reason in that little neighborhood, and so growing up, you watched TV on Sunday morning. Eddie Robinson was on TV every Sunday morning. The football team, the band, and my oldest brother went to Grambling, which didn't do anything to deviate from me from going there. So when Grambling came up, it was easy. But my senior year, for some reason or another, when I was getting recruited, I kind of said, you know what, I want to go to Southern. And Southern was like down the road from my hometown, right? And so I didn't know whether I was going to Southern or Grambling. Then you had other schools that was recruiting me. So I had to make a decision. And then Eddie Robinson called my mom late one night, and I'm sleeping and everything. And he told my mother that I was going to go to class, I was going to graduate, and I was going to go to church. So she woke me up and say, you know what? You're going to Grambling. I didn't have a choice. My mom made the choice. So I went to Grambling. It's the best decision other than birthing me, that's the best decision she ever made.
So going off that, what was your HBCU experience like?
Wow, I think everybody who has gone to a HBCU, whether it's Grambling, Southern, Jackson State, Howard, no matter where you go, I think everybody got a different story that end up being the same story, if that makes sense. I think it's one of those things when you go, you feel like you're secure, you feel like you're in a place, you feel like you love. You just feel like you're around people that care about what happens to you. I know when I went there, my counselor and my register office, on Sundays when you couldn't go home, I lived a long ways from home. When you can't go home, if you wanted a meal, you can go to one of their houses and get a meal on Sunday. I mean, that's what Black College was all about, was sharing, helping each other, and making sure everybody was good.
What was it like playing under legendary coach Eddie Robinson?
Wow, all I can do is shake my head on that one because, I wish that, I talked to a lot of guys, as teammates and even afterwards, that always ask that question. And you try to explain it to them, but it's really unexplainable because Coach Robinson was such a great individual. He was different on the football field. He was different off the football field. It's how he handled himself. But he was such a great American. Let me say that. And if you didn't know, which a lot of people who hadn't played for him don't know, and I can say the time that I spent with Coach Robinson, I got to learn that it wasn't a better individual, a better American that you want to be up under, because he did things and he said things and he motivated you to do things that you didn't think you could do, but you got it done. Whether or not it was going to class and getting a degree, whether or not it was going to church, or whether or not it was on the football field. But he always said one thing: hell, when you leave here, we want you to be prepared for the real world. And that's the thing he preached to us more than anything.
Do you have any story about Coach Robinson that sticks out in your mind?
Coach told us so many stories, man, and you just got to be sitting there. I mean, you're talking about a guy that can motivate anybody to do anything. I know when I was when I was like my freshman and sophomore year, it was amazing. Pre-game speech was always amazing because you sat there and you looking Coach Robinson in the face and you just waiting for him to say the next thing, and you just feel like you can go out there and run through a wall. That's how he made you feel until, when you got to be older. Like I know when I was a senior, you had heard it so much, so you just got numb to it. But it was one game we was on the road, and we was at Jackson State, and we was staying in this hotel, so we had meetings, and we walked in the room, and the lights was off. It was dark in there, and Coach Lee, bless his soul, one of our assistant coaches said, Coach Rob, you know where the lights at? And Coach Rob said, hey, Cat, I came in here with you. So other words, no, I don't know what it likes. It just little stuff like that. And he always made, when he made a joke, it wasn't about a joke. It was about something connected with what he was trying to get you to do. But a lot of times it was funny. But Coach Rob, man, he never ceased to amaze me, some of the things that came out of his mouth and how he motivates people.
So do you have a moment, HBCU moment that really sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm never gonna forget was walking across the stage in 1978, May 1st, Mother's Day, 1978, when I got my degree. That's something, and I walked across the stage to a standing ovation. That's something gonna always stick out to me. I know we'll forget it as long as I can remember. That's something that's gonna stand out.
Who was the toughest team or player you matched up against in college?
Wow, you talking about the SWAC. And back then, when you say SWAC, you talking about on any given day, whether or not it was Jackson State, whether or not it was Southern University, whether or not it was Alcorn, whether or not it was Texas Southern, you didn't know what you was gonna get on any given night. But I would have to say Southern and Jackson and Alcorn. We had three guys that we would call our arch rivals. And, Jackson was 2.5 hours from Grambling. Alcorn is 2.5 hours from Grambling, and Southern was like 4 hours from Grambling. So it was always that rivalry. But Southern, you would have to say, was the key rivalry because we both was in Louisiana. So, we played the Bayou Classic. It boils down to the recruiting. That's what it was all about. The Bayou Classic was about recruiting because at that time, when players saw the game and they want to know who won, whoever won was going to win the recruiting war, and that's what generally happened.
Who has the best homecoming?
Oh, man, I think every HBCU in the country don't tell you they do. But so I'm going to say we do. And nobody else would have a homecoming like Grambling because it is Grambling.
What does it mean to be a College Football Hall of Famer to you?
Well, you know what? That's an honor. Coming from a historical black college, little small school up in North Louisiana. I think any honor back then, you think about it, was worth having. But if we didn't get an honor, you still felt good because Coach Robinson always told us that if you can block and tackle at Grambling, you can do it anywhere. But to be named to the Hall of Fame is big because you're not only you in there, but you got people from big schools, the Power 5 schools, everybody that's in the same Hall of Fame. So I certainly honor that opportunity to be in the Hall of Fame, and it means a lot.
So being the first African-American starting quarterback and Super Bowl MVP is no easy feat. What was that moment like when you won that?
That moment will always stand out. And even to this day, sometime late at night, early in the morning, or whatever, when I'm sitting by myself, you always wonder, why you? And you say, you history, you black history. And I almost have to laugh every time because it's hard to wonder for a young boy from Zachary, Louisiana, didn't come from a lot, to be considered as black history and an opportunity to win the Super Bowl, being the first African American. I still have to pinch myself every now and then to normalize it because it always comes up because so many other people, if they have been given the opportunity, I think could have easily been that guy. But unfortunately, a lot of guys back then didn't get that chance. And I'm just grateful that I did get a chance. And, the Washington Redskins at that time gave me a chance, and I'm grateful for it.
So in this new era of football, how do you think you would have stacked up? There's a little more protection for the quarterback. How do you think you would have done today?
I probably would have played as long as Tom Brady played. I probably played at 45. No, I'm just saying. No, back in my day, man, when football was what it wasn't a lot of protection for the quarterback. When you got hit after you threw it, before you throw it, you name it, you got hit. But today's game has changed a lot. It's a game that is driven by the quarterback, and so therefore they're gonna keep the quarterback healthy, and that's what they do. So. I look at it, I wish I had played in that area, but I'm glad I played when I played because there's nothing I can do about it. And if I had to do it again, I'd do it the same way.
So more recently, you've switched over from coaching to more the executive side of the football, if you will. What has that experience been like, and how have you taken what you learned from as a player and as a coach into your new role with Washington?
Well, let me say this. I've been fortunate to have been actually all over the franchise. You know, when you look at it realistically, you know, I've done scouting, I've done the administrative side of it. I'm over on the other side with the sales and business side of it. I'm still here. That's grateful for one thing. But when you look at it, I know all facets of it. And from a player standpoint, it's so much different because when you hang your cliques up and you get into the administrative and the personnel side, you got to look at it from a whole different perspective. And you got to look at individuals, not as team. When you're a player, it's about team. When you're in the personnel side, it's about individual. Because when you look at players, you don't look at the whole offensive line if you're looking for a lineman. You look at that lineman. And that's how you do it. And you got to make it a personal thing when you're doing personnel. And I did that. But the other side, now where I am on the business side, you know, senior advisor to the president, you know, so many other things happen, man. You don't know. It's almost like I'm in a whole new learning stage at what goes on this side of the ball. And I'm just glad that I can do this down the home stretch.
What's something HBCUs need to do to continue to thrive?
Well, you know, a lot of people sometimes say we don't need HBCUs because of, you know, kids got an opportunity to go other places. I'm a beg the difference. I think it's very, very vitally important that the HBCU stays open because there's a lot of kids that's not going to go other places. That's only is built to be in a place that somebody going to put their arms around and make sure they do what they have to do. And I think that's what HBCU does. It's some nurturing goes on at the HBCUs that don't go on at other institutions. And so therefore, you know, as long as the schools are open, I think it's good. And I think people got to look at it from that standpoint. You know, you can't say, you know, now blacks can go anywhere they want to. That's true. But at the same time, they shouldn't be at anywhere they want to. It should be in a place sometime that's going to nurture them and going to need special attention sometime. And I think that's the most important thing about HBCUs.
What's one message or what do you want to share with the next generation of players, coaches, executives going forward?
Well, number one, you know, it's something that you have to think about every day, and that's being a good individual, number one. You know, if you want to play sports, hey, you got to be a good individual. You want to work in the business side, the personnel side, it's about that. But I also want to say this. If you want to get there, you can get there by going to a HBCU if you want to. I think that's the most important thing. I'm sitting here now, haven't gone to Grambling, and you know, if I had to do it again, I'd do it. But at the same time, you know, that's something that you have to make your mind up to do. But I just hope that more kids will look at it from the HBCU standpoint and get to thinking about, you know what, I'm going to HBCU. And I think that's what is happening to some of these guys. And I applaud them for doing that.
Thank you so much for taking your time to talk with us. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.